What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. Welcome back. We're going to do a vintage Kenner and Palitoy market update. I've got everything here. This weekend, there were some absolutely incredible loose graded items, ungraded mint on cards, as well as graded mint on card items. And this video is going to run long, so I just want to warn you because some of the rarest stuff that I have ever seen has sold this weekend at auction as well. So we've got some really great market data here, and I'm just going to dig right in. And again, I want to warn you, it's going to be pretty long. Here was an AFA 80 Han Solo on a 31 back, a really gorgeous item. This one was not an auction, but most of the stuff in today's video is. But this was graded AFA 80, really clean one. I was watching this for a while, and it was just a little too high for me. But it was listed at $1099.95, and it was best offer accepted, so I'm guessing in that $900 to $950 range, which is probably not too far off, quite honestly, for a 31 back A Han Solo. It's the debut card, and an awfully pretty one. So just some more data there, but you know, typically that for a 31 back debut Han Solo and Hoth outfit, it's going to be getting near $1,000. I'm not saying it's $1,000, but it's probably pretty close to that, even in an auction. Brian's Toys had a number of items at auction this weekend, and he did not disappoint. There were some beauties in here. This was an AFA 80 12-inch Ben Kenobi, and look at that. We've seen in some previous market updates that these 12-inch figures can go for insane money. We saw a Luke that sold for several $1,000s. We saw an IG-88 that was not even that high grade that sold, I believe, in the $5,000 or $6,000 range. So these can go for some big money, and this one sold for $1,837 on 43 bids, and that one closed yesterday. I actually think that price is pretty fair versus where I've seen some of the others sell. And down in Australia, this one was one that I almost put a bid in on, and I decided not to last minute. But this is the 47 back free 4-LOM offer Esb Imperial Commander. Really nice example. As you can see, the weapon had come loose from the tape, so the tape was kind of flapping around in there with the weapon, but it was an unpunched example. Very nice overall. Graded 80. Blister got a 90, and the figure got an 80. And it was at auction, and I expected it to go for a little bit higher, to be honest with you. I thought that was a really great price. It was $373 in US dollars, 510 Australian dollars. The issue is $65 shipping, but even factoring in the shipping there, you're talking probably about $440 before any state taxes from eBay. I think that price is pretty fair, to be honest with you, for what that item was. A nice clear blister, and so that's on the low end. Now to swing all the way back to the other side for a similar item, Brian's Toys had this one. This one was a 41 back C Imperial Commander, but it was graded AFA 85. And you can see the massive price difference. I know they're different cards, so it's not apples to apples. This is the earlier card back, but straight 85s for the sub scores, and an absolute beauty. But look at that massive price difference: $1,136 for that one versus an AFA 80 47 back that sold for $373 before shipping. So it just shows you, as we've talked about, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but once you start hitting those 85 grades for these mint on card vintage Kenner items, you're going to be paying big money, and that one was no exception. Brian's Toys also had this one. We've seen a couple of Tig Fromm's mint on card sell here recently, and this one kind of sold a little bit lower than I believe the last one sold for. This was an AFA 80, nice, beautiful, clear blister. And I wanted to give props. Somebody, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but a subscriber did mention that Tig Fromm and Sice Fromm were made down in Mexico, and you can see that down here where it says made in Mexico. And so that's the reason that Tig Fromm and Sice Fromm, typically when you see them mint on card on the droids card backs, they still have the clear blister. Those down in Mexico, they used a different type of blister than the Kenner Return of the Jedi US card backs that had a known fire retardant inside the plastic used to make the blisters. So to my knowledge, the Lili Ledy's the made in Mexico Lili Ledy card backs did not have that fire retardant. So that's why they don't yellow as much as the U.S. Kenner card backs, which typically do yellow over time. And it's because of that fire retardant. That's what a pretty well-known collector told me. I'm not saying it's 100% right. I'm just telling you what I was told about that fire retardant. It seems to make sense though, because the Lili Ledy card backs, both for the U.S. Return of the Jedi cards and obviously for these Star Wars Droids cards, they don't typically yellow. So just an interesting fact there. But anyway, this TIG from AFA 80 sold for $861. The Muffin Man over in the UK, he had a bunch of really nice loose graded and packaged items and Spanish figures, and we're going to go through a lot of them today. But this is one that really confounded me. This was a UKG 90 grade speeder bike. It's a US box, US packaging, and all it really was is that, you know, they just took the item out of the packaging and displayed it next to the box, and then mounted the catalog above it. So I mean, this is an item that you can pick up for probably $200, maybe $250, ungraded. But it just seemed like that price of $671 US or 500 pounds just seems really high to me for what it is. I mean, it's not a particularly rare item, and all it really is just pulling it out of the box and grading it open and loose. But it looks nice, don't get me wrong, but it just seems like a really high price to pay for that item. Here was a Last 17 Luke Stormtrooper disguise. I was curious to see what this one would sell for. The figure was graded 80 plus, and then the coin was graded 85. So they're kind of enclosed together by AFA. I thought that was a really nice item. That one sold for $665. I thought that was a great price for what it was. It just shows you though that, you know, even going from an 80 plus to an 85 grade, you'd probably be pushing $1,000 for this same item if that figure had been graded in 85. But that was I thought a really fair price for an 80 plus Luke Stormtrooper. And let's get into a few of the Muffin Man's loose graded figures. This was a Forlom. This is the Spanish PBP version with the reddish armor. This is an item I have in my collection, and you can see there that the armor piece and backpack piece that goes around the robe for Forlom is a little bit reddish, more reddish in color. That's a Spanish PBP exclusive item. And you can see here the label says Forlom PBP. But that is a reddish, kind of a reddish brown armor that is a lot lighter in color than the standard Hong Kong version. That one sold for $401. It was graded UKG 80%. The big thing with these Spanish Forloms is that the back of the coat almost always is torn, and this one was no exception. You can see the tear right here above the backpack, the red backpack. That is a very, very common problem. It took me, I can't tell you how long it took me to find my example that did not have that tear. It's just a very tough thing to find with these Spanish figures. But anyway, $401 or 300 pounds. I thought that was a very fair price for that figure. That's a pretty desirable one. Here's one I actually bid on. I actually bid on this one, but lost out. This was a UKG 90% pale face purple coat Spanish PBP Han Hoth. You can see it's a very purplish color to his jacket there. There's a better angle here that really shows the difference. You can see how his head is a much lighter. This is kind of the more typical color for the Han Hoth. You know, his hood and his jacket is usually that same color. But the Spanish PBP, which has a scarred out made in COO, country of origin, it's got a much darker blue to the to his jacket, the actual jacket portion. And his face is also very, very pale. As you can see here, you can see the very pale face. But this was a very clean example. It is extremely hard to find 85 or 90 grade PBP or Spanish Poch figures. It's just because there was so much factory defects in terms of the paint and the sonic welding for these figures. To get a 90 grade from UKG, it's very, very rare. I don't think I've ever seen this Han PBP in such a high grade before. And I put in a really competitive bid, but I still got beaten down there at the last minute. Anyway, that one sold for 317 pounds or $424 plus shipping. Really nice item though. Another one that's in my collection, this is the Spanish Poch Jawa that has the Hong Kong COO, but it's known for having the Dart bandoliers. I think the only problem I had with this one is because, and I was talking to the Blacked Out Ewoks about this when these auctions were kind of finishing up. I wish that they had encased it like mine, where the robe was behind the figure, so it really would show off the actual dark bandoliers on the Jawa. But this one, they just had the robe kind of over top of it. I've seen a few where they've had the robe kind of mounted next to the Jawa. That's probably the most desirable way to do it. But anyway, it's still sold for a big number, $669 plus shipping. That number is almost exactly what I paid a couple of years ago for my dark brown bandolier Jawa. So I think that, given the run-up we've had over the last couple of years in price, either I overpaid or this thing is just, was a really good deal. So, but either way, it's almost exactly the same price I paid for mine, and a really nice example, graded UKG 85%. The same seller also had this one, which was clearly an epic one. This is the Lili Ledy with the removable hood, a highly desirable item among Lili Ledy Mexican-made collectors. This is the Jawa that is probably one of the more well-known Mexican variants, but it was graded 85% by UKG. You can see there it comes with a Neon Numb style blaster, or the TIE Fighter blaster, and it's got that little removable hood right there. So it's a very desirable figure. That one sold for $1,580 US, or 1,180 pounds. That price is actually really low, believe it or not. I see these very regularly, even on Facebook, sell for $1,700 to $1,800 in high grade. I've even seen above $2,000 for an AFA 85 example. So to get that for $1,580 is actually a pretty good price, in my opinion. The same seller also had some Obi-Wan Kenobis. This is the first of them. This is the Spanish Poch Obi-Wan, white hair. This has the really thin tip Hong Kong saber. It was graded 85%. But a beautiful example overall. That one sold for $375. I thought that price was great. And then the same seller again also had the Lili Ledy version of Obi-Wan, and I knew it was the correct Obi-Wan, or it had the correct saber, excuse me, for the Lili Ledy, because you can see how thick that saber tip is, and it also has a kind of a stress mark there around the front tip of the saber in white there. But that's a common problem with these Lili Ledy sabers, is that they get pretty beaten up. So, but you can see how much thicker that saber tip is versus the Hong Kong parts Spanish Poch figure. So, but anyway, that one was a beautiful example. You can see it's got a really thick, kind of a thick paint application to his face. That's another giveaway. Also, his boots have a thicker sole. That's the other way to tell it's a Spanish figure. Or excuse me, a Lili Ledy figure. And the cape also has a very specific cut. So there's a lot of factors that go into the Lili Ledy variant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the most obvious, to make sure, if you see a Lili Ledy for sale and it doesn't have that thick saber, then it's the wrong saber. I can tell you that. They're supposed to come with that thick tip saber. Anyway, that one sold for $365. It was a UKG 80. I thought that was a great price as well. This was the PBP, Spanish PBP Darth Vader with the leather textured cape. I've got one of these, and I really like the look of those. Let's see if we can get a close-up here. You can see the texture on the back of the cape there. So the Spanish PBP Vaders, there was 3 different types. There was a smooth cape, there was this textured cape on one side, and then I believe also there is a textured cape where it's textured on both sides of the Darth Vader cape. So 3 different ones, and that's excluding like different COO markings and things like that. But just in terms of the cape itself, those are 3 different, to my knowledge, I'm going on memory, those are 3 different cape types that you can look for the PBP Darth Vader. That one sold for $208. That was right in line with market, about what I paid for mine. It's actually a pretty good deal, because I think I paid about 130 pounds for mine. But mine was a UKG 85, and this one was a 90%. So this was actually a pretty good deal, I think, for what it was. And there was just so much hot stuff that this seller had all ending around the same time. It might have just gotten lost in the mix, because it's a fairly common one to find. Here was a mint on card Bosk. It was yellowed, unfortunately, but I was curious to see what it would sell for. It was a really clean condition, probably like a, probably like a low 80. It had some creasing around the hang tab there and right there. But a really, really nice, clean example. That one sold for $374 plus shipping. It was the same seller that had that AFA graded Imperial Commander that sold for a reasonable price. So somebody got a good deal on that one. I think that was a great price despite the yellowed blister there. Here's another beautiful Spanish figure that the same seller over in the UK had. This is the Fat Lips Bossk, UKG 80%. This one sold for quite a bit higher than I expected. It had some wear around the hands there, as you can see. But look how thick that lipstick is around his face there. I just showed that in a recent video where I unboxed the Toxic Limbs version that I picked up recently. But this is one I have in my collection, UKG 85, but this one was graded 80%, and this one sold for a huge number, 492 pounds, or 659 US dollars. That blew well past any estimate that I had for what this would sell for. But a very desirable variant, and does not come up graded, you know, at auction very often. This is another one I was watching closely. I really wanted to bid on it, but I was good. This was the Spanish Poch Luke Skywalker with brown hair. So again, these early Spanish figures have a Hong Kong COO date stamp, but you know, they imported the parts from Hong Kong, and then they assembled and painted in Spain. You can see there his hands have a very pale look to the hands. The paint application in those early Spanish figures was always pretty poor, but you can see there it's got, you know, very, very pale hands there. But it was rated 80%. That's probably about right. You know, it's not if it's an 80%, it's a low 80. You know what I mean? It's got quite a bit of wear around the eyes there, but a beautiful example that sold for $472 or 353 pounds. But just a really gorgeous figure there. Here's another one that really was, when it went pretty high, this was a sealed Star Wars Sears Kenner 3-pack. So inside this 3-pack is a Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO, but it's still original factory sealed. And wow, what a rare item. But somebody's probably going to pull those out and display these uncirculated in an AFA case, would be my guess, and that would be the highest and best use for it. Otherwise, you're just staring at a brown box. So to me, that's what I would do. I would probably send that into AFA and have them grade this uncirculated, which they'll still do for mailers. So, but anyway, otherwise it's just a really ugly box. But anyway, that one sold for $1,380. So that just shows you how desirable some of those kind of off-the-wall Kenner Sears 3-packs are. There's all kind. There was just dozens of JCPenney and Sears mail-away kind of multi-packs like that, and they go for big money nowadays. Here was an AFA 80 micro collection Millennium Falcon. This is one of the more expensive micro collection playsets. This one, the TIE Fighter, and the X-Wing micro collection typically go for big money. The Millennium Falcon, I believe, is usually the most expensive. That one sold for $1,226. So you can see there what it looks like. There's not many survivors like this, but a really beautiful item. Here was another one that the Muffin Man over in the UK had. This was a Tri-Logo sand skimmer, Power of the Force, mint and sealed box, but it's got the Tri-Logo there, and really nice item, UKG 80%. That one sold for $863, so a big number there, big number. You know, it's not, I mean, it sounds like a big number, but it's really not that far off from where the last few have sold even on Facebook. I've seen several sell on Facebook for $550 in terms of pounds, or about $700 to $750 US. So $863 is not terribly far off. And those sales that I'm mentioning that on Facebook, they were a long time ago. They were either really early this year or even possibly last year. Another one I really liked, I wanted to bid, but I didn't. This was an AFA 80 Plus Tri-Logo Indoor Forest Ranger mini rig, but it shows so nice. I love the way that looks with the Tri-Logo box there. That one sold for $510, which I thought was actually a pretty decent price. What else did we have? All right, we're going to be getting into this Lee's toy review. I've never heard of this seller before, but he's got 16,000 sales and 100% feedback. This seller had some absolutely incredible items, mostly Tri-Logo items that sold here. So we're going to start small and finish off with just some absolute beauties. But this was a Top Toys El Regreso del Jedi Chief Chirpa, still mint on card. These blisters are kind of known to be really wavy and very fragile. You can see there it's got staples holding the blisters still back on the card back. So probably not gradable, as you can see. Yeah, you can see here the figure can be popped out of the card back, but nevertheless, it's still a very desirable figure and item. It doesn't look like it's complete though. It's missing the staff. So The price reflected that, though. It sold for $208 plus shipping, but it's really nice to have a, you know, a nice Top Toys Argentinian Chief Chirpa along with the original card back and original blister, but it, you know, was missing the accessory. But these card backs are very, very unique and awfully pretty to look at. You can see down there in the corner at the bottom of the card, there never was a Lando in Top Toys, but the Yoda is easily the most expensive, extremely expensive, and Chief Chirpa, Logray, and then the Luke Jedi, and then there was also a Chewbacca, as well as I believe a Stormtrooper, and Darth Vader. So those are the ones off the top of my head that I know of that actually did come on the card back. But you know, when it shows down here with the Lando and his skiff guard disguise, that was never a Top Toys release, but a really unique card back and item. So, but anyway, that was the cheapest of the items that he had, and now we're going to start digging into some of the beautiful Palitoy Tri-Logos that he had for sale. None of them were graded, but they were just really pretty to look at. This one was the Han Solo. That one sold for $676, probably a 75 grade because of the blister damage there. There was also this Leia that was gorgeous. It did have a crease up there by the hang tab, but the blister was in really solid condition, probably a 75 plus condition overall. That one sold for $928, so we're starting to creep up now in price. The next one is the one that I really wanted, but was not meant to be for me. This one was the IG-88 on the Tri-Logo card, a very difficult figure to find on the Tri-Logo Palitoy card. This and the Death Star droid, very, very desirable and very hard to find. That one sold for $1,224, which I thought was actually a pretty good price for what it was. It looked to be in excellent condition overall, probably an overall 80 in terms of condition. I really wanted that one. Another one that's very, very expensive is the TIE Fighter palette. That one sold for $1,252. I mean, this seller just had some very, very rare ones. You wouldn't think that the TIE Pilot on the Tri-Logo is very expensive, but it's very, very hard to find that one as well. And now we're going to get into some incredible ones here. This one was the Italian 4-pack, and it had yak face in it. So you can imagine how desirable this one is. But it had Han Solo and Carbonite, yak face, Anakin Skywalker, and EV-99 in this Italian 4-pack. They were only sold in Italy. They were kind of an overstock collector's special type of thing. And they're always graded. When they're graded, they're always graded qualified because it's easy to switch out the card backs that are included in here. But I can guarantee you that this one was legitimate, I would think, because otherwise you'd probably want to sell the yak face separately. But that price I thought was actually pretty good. I mean, the yak face on a Tri-Logo card back can sell for close to $3,000 now, just by itself. So to get this 4-pack, Italian 4-pack with all the packaging and so forth, with the Italian language on the front, for a total of $57.56 on 31 bids, I think it's actually a pretty great price. Somebody got a pretty good deal there, in my opinion. And then going really quickly, I want to show you first a loose graded Tri-Logo Boba Fett. And before we show you a mint on card, believe it or not, that same seller that had the Italian 4-pack and some of those others, he had a mint on card. But here was a painted knee, painted dart Tri-Logo Boba Fett, beautiful light blue color to the figure. That one sold for $1,110. It was graded UKG 85%, so a very, very desirable figure. But man, what a big number, $1,110. And then the same seller had this one. Now this one was the unpainted dart, which is a little bit more common. You can see there he's got the dart on his left hand has got that dart that is unpainted, versus this one that had the painted dart, which is a little bit more desirable and harder to find. But anyway, this one had the unpainted knee utility down here, unpainted knee dart, but it's a mint on card Palitoy, and it sold for $7,300. That's, which again, Jay S, who was a friend of the channel, he was the one that pointed this out. I don't know how I missed this. I wasn't watching this, believe it or not. But Jay, thanks for forwarding that to me. But man, what an amazing item. And $7,300 to me, this is probably like a 75 grade because of the blister damage, but what an absolute beauty. And I think that would, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, some of you high-end collectors out there, but that to me, that number seems very, very low to me for what this item is. I was thinking 5 figures, $10,000 plus to me. But anyway, this is the unpainted shin guard utility piece and unpainted dart whereas this one was the painted dart and painted shin piece. There you can see that little shin piece is actually painted on this one. So just a couple of, gives you a couple of data points for both the loose graded as well as a mint on card tri-logo Boba Fett, because those are not items that you see come up for auction at all. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look. It's just an amazing batch of items that sold here this weekend, and just really interesting stuff. Probably stuff that we'll never see for auction very often. I mean, I can't. I've seen maybe one or two other tri-logo Boba Fett's mint on card that have sold at auction before. It's usually a buy it now situation, and it's usually about double what this ending price was. So if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of information, please consider subscribing. And to my Patreon supporters as well as my existing subscribers, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.